As I've started talking about sanding, if you don't know what I mean, check out my last video, link above and in the description below, all about wraps, not edible though. I want to make a change to my sanding station. And this is said sanding station. Now, as you can see, it's a conglomeration of leftover bits, leftover Capex table, leftovers, odds and sods, blah, blah, blah. But it works really well apart from the shelf. Now, as shelves go, it's fully functional, but it doesn't offer any control. And what I mean by that is this is the way it looks at the start of the day. And it gets something a bit like that by the end of the day. All the cables get mixed up because I just put the sander back in whatever space there is on the shelf. And as you can see, a nightmare. So what I want to do is change the shelf to sander hanging and make an individual hanger that suits each sander. So I've got to put it back in the right place. Therefore, logic states that all the cables will continue to hang down unentwined and separated and in a much more pleasing state and accessible state. And while I'm at it, there's one other addition that I'd like to make, and that's a space at the top for my most frequently used sandpapers. So, sander hanging, sandpaper hanging. Let's get to it. So I'm going to use leftover scrap MDF, anything I can lay my hands on to begin with to prove the concept. And I'm going to start with the Rotex. So the idea is pretty darn simple. I'm going to cut a circle out of a bit of MDF that's the same diameter as the blue base. And then I'm going to put 45-degree bevel back on it so that that part of the pad will trap it in place. 132 mil. So that's 95, 66. And I think I'm going to come up the sides just a wee bit as well. I'll take that out on the bandsaw and then bevel it back. So that fits a dream, but it is going to need a couple of little standoff pieces at the back because it won't quite go over there when it's flat, but it's not going to need more than 4 or 6 mil, and they don't have to be curved just the width of that, so a couple of little strips to go on there. That's my two 150s done and my 125. Now I've just got the DTS and the Delta to do. So I'll start with the DTS 400. And as you can see, there's hardly any flange on the outside here at all. So I'm gonna have to get that reasonably tight to the outside of that base and use this flange at the bottom to stop the sander tipping out. So let's cut 75mm and see how that feels. And 75 across. And 30mm out. I want a bit at the bottom. I'm thinking I might need to bring a little support up here under there, so I'll leave enough at the bottom to mount an extra piece. Now that's a lovely snug fit. Might be a little too snug, but I think I'm going to bevel the back out and see what difference that makes. And again, I think the little standoffs at the back, just to create that extra bit of room. Now on to the last one, the Delta sander. And I must admit I've been puzzling over this one for a bit because of the shape, but I've got an idea. And what I'm going to try is I'm going to cut a slot for this top body to go in, and then see, using a flat bit, if I can route this out in the back so that that'll sit in to the bottom of the MDF. I found this old piece of MDF which is tall enough to make the second column and wide enough for two pieces, so I'll cut two pieces down to size and then screw them together to get a bit more support. I've cut a little support piece to go underneath to keep it at the right height while I clamp it. Now I'm going to just screw it into the back. I'm going to use this piece of leftover flooring for the horizontal support. It's hardwood topper on a plywood back, so it's going to be nice and stable, nice and strong. I'll cut the two lips off either side first, and then I'm going to cut two pieces out of it. One that'll hold the sanders and the other one above for the sandpaper. So that's how they're going to sit, the two 150s, 125, RTS 400 and the Delta. So I'm just going to make a mark for the screw holes. So that's about the height I think it needs to go at, because I have every intention of leaving the hose and the power cord attached whenever possible, as previously explained, because I'm lazy. These will just have the power cords on them and possibly the dust collection bag, but I think that's perfect. I've got a little gap here that the cables can drop into perfectly and trap, so I'm going to put a little bit of ply across the bag that'll stop that happening, and that still gives me room to put a piece across the top for sandpaper that I can still reach even though I'm a vertically challenged person. So as mentioned earlier, I want to get my most frequently used grits up on this board. So I've got 80, 120, 180, 120, 180, 240, and I'm just going to space them out equally and drill a hole in the centre to pop a piece of dowel through. And that's it, my latest creation all finished, including my little rail at the back to stop the cables trapping, space for sanders, space for sandpaper. And as expected, it works perfectly, one-handed even. So the other benefit that's just occurred to me in having the sandpaper out on display is I'll be able to instantly see when I'm starting to get low. So time to order a bit more sandpaper, I think. And there's even a possibility I might start to enjoy sanding again. Who knows? Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider a thumbs up. And if you loved it, why not subscribe? Hope to see you next time. Ta-ra.